Hello. Welcome to Inside the Table. My name is Cole. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. And you can find me at IceColeBrew on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Hive. And joining me today is me. I'll be playing myself. If you're hearing my voice right now, that means that either there was a scheduling conflict or something came up in one or either of our lives, or we got sick. Something happened. And so today, I'm going to be playing a game by myself, and today I am checking out Sworn by Ghostlight, the case of the Ebon Effigies by Matthew John. This is a very interesting game. I've had my eyes on it for a while. It is a solo or cooperative tabletop RPG. It is completely GM-less and is meant to basically emulate a little bit of the Ironsworn RPG system by Sean Tompkins. Matthew John also just recently put out an expansion as well, called the Wings of Rot is the name of it. And I'm playing the original version, the first one that came out. It is a fairly simple RPG, and it can be played up to 3 hours or beyond. And yeah, this is a game I've been looking at for quite a while, and I really wanted to get into it and kind of get a feel for the system. I really do love solo RPGs as an idea. I just need to find time to play them, and I think having set this up here has given me just the right time and opportunity to do so. So without further ado, I'm going to read the introduction to Sworn by Ghostlight. As a side note, I'm not doing a video recording. You can definitely check this game out on itch.io, but you can pick it up from ugaron.itch.io/sworn-by-ghostlight. Now, without further ado, let's get into Sworn by Ghostlight, the case of the Ebon Effigies. The haze of the moon's ghostlight illuminates the words and sketches of your notes as it bleeds through your window. The charcoal eyes of 6 victims, each found dead in the Ash District, stare up at you and implore you to find their killer. In your hand, you hold one of the crude carvings left behind at each scene. A figure of a woman, carved from the charred wood of an ebony tree, found in the left hand of each victim. It is the only thing known to connect those poor unfortunates, and undoubtedly placed there by the killer. A sudden rapping pulls you from your thoughts. Beneath your door, someone has slid a letter. You know the words therein before even reading them. The killer has struck once more. Sworn by Ghostlight is a GM-less game intended for solo play or co-op with 2 investigators over 1 or 2 sessions. You can play a occult detective in the haunted Victorian London-inspired city of Monaþstone, where the moon's cracked surface bleeds ghostlight onto the world where it festers as ghosts, necromancy, and undeath. Investigate locations and clues, interrogate suspects and witnesses, fend off assailants, solve the investigation, and close the case. The culprit, their motive, means, and opportunity are not predetermined in a Sworn by Ghostlight game. Rather, the clues you gather help you to envision them. When you find all the information you need, make the final reveal and close the case. But will you catch the real culprit, or is there more to the case? Are they still out there, even now? Play to find out. This game is fascinating. I really like the idea behind it of just, you don't know what exactly is going on. You don't really know what the true motive is. You have to play to find out, which is very much something similar that you find happens in games like Noirlandia, or kind of the twist that pops up in games of Fiasco. A lot of murder mystery games ask the narrator or ask the table to figure it out as you go, kind of come up with that reason. I think this is a good thing to lean on, because if you already have an idea immediately, you railroad people and it feels awkward and weird to get into. So, before we begin, we had to make our character. We had to envision our character, their look, motivation, skills, personality, and weaknesses. And right now, I have the name. I have not assigned all my numbers yet. I still have to go back and fix that. But is your character sheet. This is a 2-page RPG if you print it out, which is really nice. And I will be playing the Warden, a occult detective group officer named Lucille Deleuc. Pronouns are he, they. Their look is they have, like, very daring, like, dark eyes. I'm imagining, like, the lead character in Peaky Blinders. They wear a top hat. They have 2 knives tucked away in their long coat. And they have that half-shoulder cape, kind of like Lady Maria in Bloodborne, if you ever get to see Lady Maria. And they also have a badge of the Warden station on their person. Lucille's character background is they are a reluctant member of the Wardens, and they are working to unveil a past only found in this Ghostlight. I imagine there was some kind of tragedy, some kind of covered up mystery, and they think the only way to figure this out is by working with the Wardens, even though they do not like the idea of the Wardens, of these occult detectives who have their own magics and secrets that the regular people of Monaþstone do not know. And now that I've envisioned them, I do not think they are infamous or famous at all. I think they are neither. I think they are kind of a nobody. They are an up-and-comer and a piece of shit. And so now they have abilities. So arrange these bonuses across your 5 stats in any order. We have Edge, which is for quickness, agility, prowess, and range conflict. Heart, courage, willpower, empathy, sociability, and loyalty. I'm going to keep that at a 3 for sure. Iron, brawn, endurance, aggressiveness, and prowess in close combat. That's going to stay at a 4. Shadow, sneakiness, deceptiveness, cunning. They are dumb of wit. One of these is going to have to be a 1, huh? One of these is going to have to be a 1. I'm going to put this at a 2. I will put my wit at a 3. Yeah, they are not cunning at all. Fuck it, they're 1. And I need edge at a 2. Actually, oh no, they definitely have a 2 in heart, because I think the reason why they survived that hidden pass is because they fucking ran away. So, edge is quickness, agility, and prowess and range conflict. So that's going to get a 3. Iron is going to have a 4 for brawn, endurance, aggressiveness, and prowess in close combat. I imagine this very much as like the kind of characters I do like to play a lot. I do like playing the, close cut, like radio fighter all times kind of character. But a little bit of a coward, has no willpower, empathy, and sociability, can kind of get tricked easily. And Shadow, they are not deceptive at all. They are not sneaky about it. They cannot lie for the life of them. But they have okay expertise. They understand some things. They're able to observe some stuff, but they make it really obvious in how that looks. We also have statuses, which is health, spirit, supply, and momentum. Momentum is currently set to 2. Supply is set to 5, which represents my preparedness. Spirit is set to 5, which represents my mental state. Health is set to 5 and has a maximum of 5, just like Spirit does, and represents my physical condition. Along on the page as well, there's a case tracker, which tells me how close I am to cracking the case, along with progress tracks to let me know how difficult some challenges are. If your spirit or health are at 0, you must reduce them more. Take from your momentum instead. If you cannot, your character cannot go on. There's a fail state in this game. If my health and spirit hit 0 and my momentum hits 0, I'm done. That is the end of Lucille. Now, as we get more into it, we'll go more into the action rolls and how rolling works in this game. But to let folks know, there's also an oracle table here as well, which you use by rolling a d6. You have d10s on standby to help you figure out what clues are, what the name, mindset, role, and goal of someone is, what the theme, location, and details are. You have special moves as well that I will go into detail later. But for the most part right now, you need 2 d10s and a d6, which I have right here. Now then, before you begin, fill the blanks below using the table on the next panel. Roll again if a result makes little sense to you. So the killer's latest victim, just gonna keep hitting a blank by the name of blank was discovered in the alley behind a blank on Cinder Street beside the Ebon Wood effigy. The only lead yet found is a blank on near the body. So we're gonna go ahead and roll that. So we're gonna start with the name. We're gonna figure out we're gonna start with the roll. So I'm gonna roll d10 here. And that's a 7. So I have, on a 7, a sex worker. Very original. Sex worker. By the name of... Okay. If I do not like any of these names, I'm going to reroll that. Elijah. There we go. By the name of Elijah was discovered in the alley behind theme and location, so let's see what that gets me. I got a 4 and a 2, so I could either be a ramshackle theater or a haunted tenement house. I like ramshackle theater. Ramshackle theater sounds fun. Ramshackle theater on Cinder Street, because I think that's more entertaining overall. Besides the Ebonwood Effigy, the only lead yet found is a clue, which, rolling another D10, which could be a cloth scrap, matchbook, jewelry, fine alcohol bottle, sales receipt, reluctant witness, letter, note, key, injury, ghost echo. I got a 5. That's a sales receipt. Amazing. So imagine the sales receipt. Okay. So now I ask you to next imagine the scene. What does it look like? What is everything there? Envision the scene as your character enters the alley. The sights, the sounds, the smells. It might help to journal the case as it progresses. Be as detailed or as brief as you wish. I do have a notepad on me that I'm probably going to be writing a whole bunch of notes on and then forgetting about. Imagine the scene. It's, again, the moon is high, ghost light dripping, like oozing out of the moon and spreading over the city. The theater is ramshackled, but Cinder Street is a burnt out kind of city, but still people gather. It is a lot of forgotten folk, people caught in the cracks in between, people who are trying to find work here and there. And I imagine they are all being pushed away by the local law enforcement. On the scene is Sergeant Cawley. Sergeant Cawley has a big old handlebar mustache, is in the dark grays of the local law enforcement, and has a militant sword by his side and a pistol on the other. He's here examining a small carved effigy, and is, are they a trusted friend or rival? What do they talk about? Ask the oracle if unsure. So the oracle here is when unsure of the outcome of something in the narrative, assign the odds of something being true and roll a d6. Odds are almost certain 2 or great is a yes. Likely is 3 or greater. 50-50 is a 4 or greater. Unlikely is a 5 or greater. Small chance is a 6. I think it's 50-50. Maybe Cawley has the same feelings I do about law enforcement, about the wardens, about occult stuff in general, even though I am working for the occult. But also Cawley could hate me because I am one of them. So I'm going to say it's 50-50, so I'm going to roll a d6 and see if I get a 4 or greater. I got exactly a 4. Okay, so Cawley is definitely a trusted friend, if I can call them that, if Lucille can call them that. And when Warden Deleuc shows up, he stands up a little bit straighter, walks over, and says, the victim has been found with, very similar to the other cases we've had in the past, multiple stab wounds under the armpit, and a bit of a draining. We found the effigy here. This one was not precisely clear. It was moved around a little bit more. It seems like the body got moved because we have a sales receipt here for looks like a tailor shop that is outside the Ash District. So, I mean, yeah, outside the Ash District. So this person might be moving back in here, or might have been living in the streets for quite some time. And I think we're trying to find out what the next step of the crime scene is. So to investigate the crime scene, create a dangerous, formidable progress track. Marking progress on a success could indicate you have found new information or clues. Resolving the track with a hit should indicate this information provides a lead, whilst a miss indicates more needs to be done. Whatever your next move is, end the current scene and cut to it. Use the tables to help guide if you need. Using actions and progress tracks, bring the scenes that follow to conclusions that help or hinder your case. When you feel you've made progress in the case, mark the case tracker once. When you feel you've made enough progress, close the case. Some examples of scenes are conversations, investigations, seances, interrogations, a race across the city, eavesdropping, your mind palace. God, fuck the mind palace. Now then, so we're currently in the Ash District itself. I said the sales receipt came from just outside of it, which means this person probably went to a client. People know about Elijah, and Elijah is a sex worker who is known for discretion, I would say, known for keeping his mouth quiet about various works, and works with a variety of nobles across the city. But they live in the Ash District because that's kind of just how it works out. The Ash District itself is on the western slope of the North Hill in the city of Monaþstone. Monaþstone. I was saying that right the whole time. I didn't even look at the pronunciation that was in this description. I'm amazed with myself. The Ash District was a site of a great fire hundreds of years ago, rebuilt from the ashes using the charred, surviving ebon wood beams and timbers. It is a mix of lower wealth residential and commercial buildings, with a heart of debauchery. Cinder Street, the busy north-south thoroughfare of the district, is lined with theaters, pubs, brothels, and bystanders for almost every taste. I'm actually going to rewind my description of the sales receipt. I think it's actually from one of the... It's like a sales receipt for a specific costume. It's a receipt of return to one of the theaters away. That's not this ramshackle theater. It's actually for one of the more common theaters where like all the nobles go in to go slumming. The scene itself is work-weary folk trudge the slopes and steps to work and back. Steel eyes and blades lurk in the alleys carved out by street gangs. Loud, frantic markets and streets of trade, music, fights, and carnal sights are all along the Cinder Street. Okay. The uneven, well-lit cobble roads crowded with people slope upward to the east, often so steep that they have to wind back on themselves. Mazes of darkened alleyways, choked with mud and slop, Charwood, Blackstump Way, Rubble Street, Blaze Street are just a few of the names in this area. Buildings, tall black brick tenements with wooden balconies, wattle and daub, buildings with the charred black wooden beams of ebon wood trees, pubs and brothels, and theaters spill forth heat, light, music, and comfort onto the wider, well-lit Cinder Street. Those streets are still well-lit, even with the tragedy that befell right outside this theater. Abandoned and haunted remnants of the Great Fire litter the forgotten nooks of the district. So, sales receipt for a theater. I want to quickly write this down. And I think this is a theater. Let's give it a quick little idea. I rolled a 4 again. I think it is a once grand theater that is still on its way up. I imagine it's called, like, the Curtains Call Theater. And this is the receipt that Elijah has. It is for a outfit for one of the past shows, where it was about, I guess it's about a surgeon who falls in love and cannot complete an operation because their lover is currently in the process of being put in jail. And so with surgical accuracy resolves some kind of way. And the outfit is of the lover about to go into the prison. And I think I'm going to go ahead and give this a difficulty tracker. So the progress that I need to do here, and I want to make sure I have this right. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I have the name for my first part of the progress tracker is I want to find out who saw Elijah last. And I think the sales receipt comes from the outfit and says to go to the Curtains Call. And so saw Elijah last. Objectives that take more than one action to resolve, such as fights, investigations, or interrogations. Here, I'll just call it Last Witness. So the Curtains Call has a history of renting out outfits. I'm going to mark this as dangerous because Elijah is known for discretion, and not a lot of people should know this. And so what that means is I'm starting a progress track, and it starts with all the boxes empty and are filled as you succeed at actions. Assign the track a difficulty as follows. To resolve a progress tracker, tally the number of marked boxes. This is your progress score. Then roll your challenge dice and compare your progress score to the value of the dice. Determine the outcomes you would for an action roll with strong hits, weak hits, and misses, keeping an eye out for matches on the challenge dice. When deciding whether to yet resolve a progress track, weigh your chance of success against the risk of continuing to mark boxes. It's not necessary to fill your progress track before resolving it. In fact, a weak hit or a miss on a progress cape can lead to exciting new story possibilities. The case progress tracks is a special track with distinct rules and outcomes. So, now we are going to get into the action roll as Lucille starts making their way into this crowded theater. It's currently at the height of it, but I think that's a opportune time to get someone to say the wrong thing at the right time in order to progress the case. And so in order to do so, my action here is I want to get someone to explain to me the receipt while they're busy so they get more flustered and frustrated, which could backfire very easily. And so that means I'm doing a action roll. When you take a risk or uncertain action in the narrative, envision what you hope to achieve if you succeed, and what you fear will occur if you fail. So what I hope to succeed is finding out who Elijah got this outfit for, or did someone else pick it up for Elijah, and Elijah had to come back to return it. And what I fear will happen if I fail is I will hit a dead end and possibly get shoved out of the theater, get told to get out, or have to pay in resources to see the show, because they'll say, we cannot tell you right now. I need you, like, either you're seeing the show or you're getting the fuck out into the street. So envision which of your abilities apply, and roll the following dice together. Two-sided challenge dice, D10, action die, a sided D6. The total of your action die and your ability is your action score. To resolve the outcome of your action, compare the action score to each of the challenge dice. You want to be greater than the individual value of those dice. Ties always go to the challenge dice. Your action score needs to exceed, not equal, the challenge dice to count a hit. There are 3 possible results. Your action score is greater than both the challenge dice. You succeed at what you're trying to do. Weak hit, your action score is greater than only one of the challenge dice. You succeed, but with a lesser effect, or your fear manifests. Miss, your action score isn't greater than either of the challenge dice. You failed, your fear is coming true. Interpret the outcome based on your envisioned hopes and fears. The result may include mechanical changes to your statuses, such as a plus or minus 1 or 2 to momentum or spirit, and or narrative changes to the current situation. A clock ticks somewhere is my favorite way of putting that. When you score a miss on the move, pick the most likely negative outcome or roll on the pay the price special move to see what happens. I will roll that later and explain what happens if I do get that. The main thing to remember on a miss, something always happens. The situation gets more complex, dramatic, or dangerous. Make a move as hard as you want. Now then. So I said I was going to try to talk to and fluster this person. And I say that, and that is honest to God a shadow move. Or it could be wits. I'm going to be nice to myself and say it's wits. It's expertise, knowledge, and observation. I've observed that, someone else came to pick this up. Elijah is on the way to return it. Who picked up this coat? You have a copy of the sales receipt in your files. I need that. So I'll say it's wit. So we're going to roll my challenge dice first. I have my 2d10. And I rolled a 3 and a 4, 7 total. And not a lot of space to move in. I am rolling a +3 on my challenge dice right now, so I have a lot of chance to get this. So let's go ahead and roll. And I rolled a 6, so a 9. So I actually hit a complete... I have a strong hit. Action score is greater than both the challenge dice. You succeed at what you are trying to do. Okay. So what that means is, because this is dangerous, I mark 4 progress per hit. So I am going to mark 4. All right. So I'm trying to find the last witness of Elijah. I want to know who Elijah saw last. And the person who I am talking to, this is this person works for the theater, and let's see what their mindset is, and I'll give them a name afterward. Their mindset is cooperative. Wow. And their name is going to be Adelaide. Adelaide is a cooperative worker of the theater, probably runs like the coat rental, probably runs the costume department as well too, but during the show nights helps work the ticket booth or the coat check. And she says, I know who rented that. That is another person named Victor, Sir Victor, who currently works for the constabulary. So Victor is a cop. He came in one day about 3 days ago, said he needed the outfit from our surgeon's precision play and wanted it for the love interest. And we, went through the process, wrenched it, and it seems poor Victor, the person, wait, why do you have this receipt? And, that comes out that it was found on the victim, Elijah, who is a sex worker, and Adelaide is shocked and extremely saddened by the news of this. And so we get to look at the rest of the receipt, where on the management side of the receipt has the address of the person. And so we're going to go to the house of Victor, of the constabulary, Officer Victor. Constable Victor would actually be the name of this. So Constable Victor has let's see what kind of detail that is in one of the out Ash District areas that has a lot of balconies around it. It is a tenement house, but he owns a tenement house, I imagine, or like his family owns it. I'm going to rewind that. It is, actually, no, that makes a bit more sense. It's one of the more higher echelon. It would not be in the Ash District. It would actually be a bit further out. So we are going to go see Officer Victor, and let me see what his mindset is in this time. He is hostile. Okay, so imagine Officer Victor has these, like, mutton chop kind of beards going on, a little bit more hair extending down, is very tired looking, bags under the eyes, and does not like Wardens either. Lucille comes up and says, we need to know what you were doing last night. Did you happen to see anyone? Just kind of lean the edge a little bit. And let's see. I think the goal of this action roll here is getting Victor to admit to, well, I think actually this helps out a lot more. I think it is showing the evidence of saying, hey, we know you hired Elijah to come to your home. We have a receipt of an outfit from the Curtains Call Theater that you rented and gave to Elijah and then told him to return it. Elijah is now dead. And let's see how this works out, because I imagine, just because of the way this will work, I imagine this will have Victor very upfront and says yes, but I don't know where he went afterward, as like a kind of near miss. Or actually, alternatively, what if on a miss, Victor is currently being attacked as well? Because, as I imagine, if word gets out that, like, Elijah was over at a constable's place, there could be some people who found that constable very unfavorable and thought he killed Elijah. So let's go ahead. Let's roll our challenge dice here. I got an 8 on that. And, actually, I'm going to take that back. I think it would actually make more sense to find this out. And what I want to do is ask the Oracle if someone I got a full hit. It'll be more interesting. I'm going to use this to make it more interesting. Someone overheard that Victor got Elijah over. They're a friend of Elijah and thinks Victor attacked him and killed him. So we're going to see, because the body was very visibly moved from one location to the other. So let's go ahead and see. It's going to be, let me see, very much not deceptive or sneaky. So this is going to be like a 3 or greater for this to happen. Okay, no, it does not happen. So that will change out what my idea is. So what I do think happens then is we find Officer Victor in his home. He is off the clock. He has just come home. He is very hostile and angry as what we're doing here. And what we're trying to do is we are trying to win his heart over. I think we're trying to empathize and play up the sociability and be like, listen, I am an officer of the law, just like you are. And while we're both on different sides of it, I deal with the occult, you deal with the hustle and bustle, and the average citizen. I still want to solve my case just like you would want to. I think this adds a extra challenge, though, so that's why I'm rolling heart, because Officer Victor doesn't fucking care, He does not give a shit, but I did roll a 5 on the challenge dice. So with that, we're going to roll heart, and that's going to get a +2, and I match. Excellent. So matching is different. When the challenge die roll matching numbers, the remarkable occurs. The outcome of a match should be based on the result of your actions. If you're unsure what happens, roll and ask the oracle table. Strong hit. The match represents a twist in the narrative, something interesting, or a new opportunity. The match represents a heightened negative outcome. Okay, no, so I didn't roll a matching number. When the challenge dice rolls matching numbers. Okay, I'm misinterpreting that. So that's interesting. Either way, I did match the total, and the tie goes to the challenge. I get a weak hit because I did succeed and beat a... Oh, I actually got a strong hit. I got a strong hit on that. Okay. So I got a strong hit, which means I get a bit more information what I know, which means I get another 4, and I do think that will actually complete my progress track. Actually, no. This would be the last witness known, but I bet you there's another unknown witness somewhere. So that's 8. So, we have the last witness. It was a Constable Victor, who says, yes, okay, we both work under the law, fine, is what it is. Yes, I invited Elijah over. Yes, I gave Elijah the coat and told him to return, and I paid him a little extra. But I did not walk him out. I didn't even know about this till you came and told me. And if anything, it's probably somewhere along the walk that we saw him. The last thing Elijah mentioned to me was there was some kind of weird eye watching him. Someone was following him the entire time. And he said it happened like a few weeks back. He was watching the moon one night, watching the ghostlight drip down. And then from that point onward, there was like a weird flash and someone following him. And I think Constable Victor, being very forthcoming, says, I imagine Lucille says, well then, where was Elijah watching this? Maybe that could give me a hint. And the location of this was probably the rooftop of an inaccessible vice den. No, wait, inaccessible brewery. A closed down, burnt out brewery that has like those big, nice tall rooftops and such. I think Elijah was watching that on top of there. And so that becomes our next place to go to. And one thing I would like to see happen is see if we can find any clues. And in order to do that, we need conversation cunning. I do not think it's likely because this is a few weeks back. This is kind of a cold area. But I want to see if there is a chance that we got a clue there. I'm going to say it's very unlikely, so we're going to see if we can roll 5 or greater. That's a 2. Okay. So we're now... there isn't an obvious clue in the area. So Lucille has walked off, and this entire area, Ghostlight is dripping down, and it's trying to find any kind of clue. Actually, that wouldn't be an oracle. It's not an obvious clue. So there's going to be a deeper investigation, and I imagine because they are a occult detective, they have to do some kind of like ghost walk. They have to kind of get an experience of everything that's happened there. And I believe this will go into another idea. So I imagine expertise. This is either a wits roll or this is a heart roll. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and roll my challenge dice, get an idea, because what I want to happen is Lucille is able to replay the events that have happened in this area. Anything that would be weird, some kind of echo, some kind of presence that didn't belong, something weird, something strange. And, you know, who else has walked through this area, see if there's any similar, maybe that some of the other victims have been in this area too. And we are going to find out if we can roll higher than an 8. Okay. What would a spirit roll be? Courage, willpower, expertise, knowledge, and observation. I think the way wardens work, I think the way these occult detectives work, is they have an intense training, so they know how to reach stuff. But the question is, when you do a ghost walk, when you sit in an area and kind of do an investigation where you're trying to find echoes of something that happened, you are opening up an entire way. So I think this is another heart roll. I think this is another willpower to try to control and just only have a certain amount of time with a certain amount of people and follow the tracks of one certain person. So we're going to roll with the +2 again. And if this hits, this is a 4, so I get a weak hit. Okay, so when you get a weak hit, your action score is greater than one of the challenge dice, so you succeed but with a lesser effect, or your manifested fears. So I think this is a lesser effect for sure. So I am going to complete the progress track, so I am able to get a idea of who the last witness is of Elijah. Wow, not Isaiah, of Elijah. But in order to get this, I had to open up a bit of a ghost field, and I imagine some of the ghost light kind of creeps in. And let's go ahead. Is it only on a miss? Sure, a miss on the move. Okay. So a fear manifests. I imagine there is a playback of a life before. Of that life before of the past event. The one that Lucille ran out of. And there are these echoes as the fire burns around the Ash District. And there is yelling and shouting. There is a shattering of glass, but Lucille just keeps running and running. Something grabs at his leg, and he busts out of it, trips, falls, rolls into more glass, keeps rolling, and picks up and run, hearing the very faint voice of "Help me." And Lucille is sweating while sitting on top of this rooftop, staring at the moon. And I think what we get out of this is a clue to find the last witness. A ghost echo. Help me. Help me. And that ghost echo emanates and follows and goes through another area. And with that, we have completed our first progress track. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all these real quick. And I think that does help out with finding someone who knows what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and put my bullet on my case tracker here. Oh, whoops, I did too many dots. There we go. Control V. There we go. For those wondering, I am using Figma. Figma is interesting. I actually used it for a sports program that I worked on. Works out pretty well. It's very interactive, as long as you make sure it's a project and not a draft, because the draft fucked me up. But the draft also comes with sticky notes. It's kind of good. So, we have our clue. We have our ghost echo. Help me. Help me. And Lucille is able to track this down. And I think what we need is quickness and agility in this. We're trying to find the source of... or it could be endurance. I haven't rolled iron yet. I'm going to say it's iron, because I want to roll my highest stat just to see what happens, because it'd be really funny if I failed. So I'm rolling with a +4. And the endurance is being able to keep pace with that echo of help me. Help me. And we are going to start running, following that voice, sliding down on the path on the brewery. And there's a simple failed one where I lose the ghost echo and I lose my track in a very broad area. But there's a more fun one I like of that ghost echo is actually a trap. So that's what happens. It fails. But if it succeeds, I find the source of the voice that says, help me. So we're going to see what happens here. All right, I need to beat an 8 on a D6 roll. I need to be a 1 and a 7. Sorry, I should be more clear. So, I can, no matter what, I am guaranteed a weak hit. That's the good thing. And I got a 9, so I definitely beat both of them. I crushed it. I have found... So, help me. Help me. Help me. Lucille just hears that echoing through his head, and it gets louder as he faces more towards the north area. Heads down Cinder Street, past the hustle and bustle, takes a right on Suit Road, goes right up onto Ember Lane. Help me. Walks into an alley. And in the alley is another individual who is scared, tired. Let's see who they are. All right. They are... I already rolled that name. There we go. Oscar. And they are a street beggar. And let's see what their goals are. They are trying to defend someone. This street beggar is covering up something or someone, as there's an entire group harassing them and beating them down and yelling at them and making fun of them, you know. There are these people who... It's a very common scene to see people take advantage of street beggars, you know, trying to push them out of areas in order to take control of it. And we see Oscar here covering up a smaller figure or something else, balled up. And so we come in swinging immediately. This is definitely going to be another iron roll, and the project here is going to be a brawl. We are going to basically clear out all these folks, and we are going to challenge them. Oh, I'm also going to backtrack a bit. I'm going to... that fear takes away that mental health, so we're going to drop spirit down to 4 real quick from that earlier scene. This new scene is going to be a fight, and we're going to see how tough these guys are on the challenge die. I rolled an 8 and a 2. I am rolling my highest stat, so I could crush them. But this will be interesting. And I imagine they have cudgels and sticks, whatever they have on hand, and just trying to get this guy to open up to get whatever he's got covering up. And I rolled an 8, so I get a weak hit. I think I'm able to fight them off, but I get beaten and bruised just as well. And so, we have found the official last witness of Elijah. I'm going to go ahead and change these back real quick. I think what happens here is Lucille comes in swinging immediately. Is trying to... is just pulls out the knives, starts knocking heads, punching people out of the way, deflects, and gets caught in the back once by a cudgel, and then cracked over the head with a bottle. Comes up, head bleeding, and immediately flashes the badge and says, "You have all fucked up now." That's a very different... You have all fucked up now. And starts going back at him. Just starts swinging, cracks head, and by the time the people have realized what they've done, they're immediately pulling their friends out, trying to get out of the way, and Oscar's just still laying on the ground, cuddled up. So we're going to take a hit on health for that, so we're going to bring it down to 4, keep that going, and what we have here, Lucille walks over to Oscar, takes out a handkerchief, and is about to wipe the blood off their brow, and just looks over at Oscar, who is bleeding, weak, and injured, gasping. And now, I think there's like a little bit of a pool of blood. I think that's the other complication of the scene for the weak hit, is Oscar is now bleeding, trying to defend something, and is bleeding. Let me roll what that clue is real quick. I rolled a 4, which is is that a 6 or a 9? That is a 6. He's now turned into a reluctant witness. Oscar curled up and needs help. And so we are going to go find Oscar at Doctor. And to do that, I'm going to change up my tables here. I'm going to find... we need to get a doctor whose name is Dr. Salem Cokes. She is one of the common doctors around the Ash District, sees a lot of crime, sees plays underhanded, and we're going to see what happens here. They are currently suspicious of me. Lucille runs in carrying picks up Oscar, who is currently knocked out, holding something in their arms the entire time. And Oscar is muttering to himself, can't find him, can't find him, can't find him, can't find him. In this, like, very addled, near unconscious state, fading in and out the entire time. Lucille hefts up Oscar and starts running through the streets all the way down until they are at the doorstep of Dr. I believe I said Salem Coates. Salem peeks out the window and is extremely suspicious the entire time. But Lucille says, Warden's business, I need your help, and is willing to do whatever needed. And unable to abandon a patient in need, Dr. Coates opens the door, and she brings Oscar inside with Lucille, lays Oscar out on the table, and tells Lucille to stand back. And we see a lot happening all at once. Now the question is, can Lucille save Oscar? Or at least get him into a more stable state? Actually, no. I think Dr. Coates can do that. But the question is, will Oscar be awake and lucid enough to explain what happened? Because he is currently right now a reluctant witness. And I think Coates is very used to seeing people come in beat up and bruised the entire time. So I'm going to say it's about 3 or greater right now. Which I got on the dice, so let's go. Okay, so Dr. Coates is able to get Oscar awake. And now comes the next part of questioning. Oscar needs to explain what happened to Elijah. Elijah has some kind of connection to him. And Oscar's very reluctant, very shy and quiet and reserved, holding themselves close and holding, I think this might be a key, and is locked around him. A little help from the doctor helps open up Oscar a bit more. And he says that he met Elijah a few weeks back and was watching the moon with him at one point. And as they had both parted ways on top of that brewery, Oscar was immediately saw something in the shadows behind Elijah. Someone was watching Elijah the entire time. Being aware of what was going on, Oscar immediately turned around and said, Elijah, can I walk you back to your place? And I just still want to have this really nice conversation we've been having. Oscar keeps walking with him all the way up and says, there's something behind you at one point, and tries to make sure Elijah doesn't feel alarmed. Elijah, of course, is, smaller, kind of thinner individual, shaking a bit, and Oscar just grabs his hand and holds it tight, walks with him all the way through the streets of the Ash District until Elijah's at his tenement house. Elijah brings Oscar inside and gives him a place to sleep and eat, but the entire time Oscar feels something in the wind, and I think it kind of comes to Lucille's realization that Oscar is also able to detect the ghost echoes and the whispers in the night, much like the Wardens can. So, as Oscar is explaining this, Lucille stops him and says, what did it look like? Were you able to see a face? Were you able to see anything in the winds? And Oscar says, yeah, they had a half mask on, and I could smell the thin smell of... What's a good smell? Let me do a smell generator thing real quick. What's a smell generator? Okay, I do not need any of those. Those are smell description generator. I don't need a funny smell. I just need a random scent. Perchance.org, thank you. Where do you go, weed? No. Give me 10. Randomize. I smelt... So, Ebon Wood trilogies. I smelt... campfire... Or hearthfire... and honey. Roasted honey over a hearthfire. But... I could not tell, that half mask I saw peeking out, watching Elijah, it smelled like hearth fire and honey. It's a very strange scent. Hearth fire and honey being part of like a more rich district, like a lot of the nobles and higher ups keep hearths the entire time. They have warm fires. It's very common to see them camping out in warm fires. And honey is a very common treat to be mixed in some of the poorer houses. So this could be a combination of like a rich person's house being established and used as an almshouse. I think that is one of the more difficult connections to make that Lucille comes to. Lucille thanks Oscar and the Dr. Cokes for their time and is going to try and make a connection here. What I need is could be a brothel. Could be something warm and cozy. It's a place that is warm and cozy. This is an Ash District. The Ash District used to be a place that was rebuilt over the Ebon Woods. It's now lower wealth residential, but I imagine there used to be rich people who lived here, so it could be someone who was forgotten, like a forgotten noble's house. And I think there is connection. So the next step Lucille would probably take is to try and find out what houses had a hearth fire, what houses were destroyed, and things along those nature. I can justify finding the old noble houses that are still standing. Because I imagine, no, that's such a big leap. This is interesting because, like, I'm trying to find out what would be the right connection to make. I think what I need here is a little bit more information. It's another dot in my case tracker, but not enough to build off of. What if it's Hearthfire and Honey, and that used to be a tavern? What if that used to be a brothel? There we go. That's my answer. It's a warm brothel that Elijah might have visited at one point or another. So we go into the brothel and we start asking about everyone that's worked there. Now the issue here is that is extremely difficult to get around. That is a lot of talking around people, trying to go to a place that typically tries to be discreet. I imagine that to get this information, you have to have a lot of supply and resource, so that could be a cost of this. So what I'm going to do is go to Hearthfire and Honey. What's a name I can make with Hearthfire and Honey? Sweet and warm. What's a synonym for warm? Because I'm trying to think. Sweet and sultry. There we go. That's the name of the brothel house. Sweet and sultry. So we go to the Sweet and Sultry, and we're trying to find out more information about who has visited here, who has worked here. We're trying to find something. So let's see what we can do. We're going to talk to the... what is the name of someone who would work in an area like this? So we go to talk to the madam. This is Madam. Let me see what kind of name I can get here. Ooh, Madam Gwendolyn. Just Madam Gwendolyn. And let's get an idea of what kind of mindset she has. She is suspicious of me as well. Oh, excellent. Lucille's a very suspicious person, so it works out. So, Madam Gwendolyn, here's Lucille coming in, and Lucille asked to speak with them, and Madam Gwendolyn is wearing this very long dress, hips are wired out a bit, and corset tied up, mostly there to oversee all the other brothel workers. A variety of people work here, a variety of people come to see this place. There is the open show where people can come in for just a couple coins to see like a stage show, like a cabaret. And then there's more private rooms and private clientele, private shows you can get. And that is the guest list that Lucille wants to see. Now, of course, the success here is Lucille's able to get a list of names of people who have worked the show and people who have done this and that. I imagine a strong hit here is making connection between the other victims of the Ebon Effigies murder. And then the failure here is actually drawing attention. And maybe there's some hired muscle who says, I don't like you coming in and asking all these kind of questions. So let's see here. So I got a 4 and a 3. I would love to get matching numbers just to see what happens with that. And this is a lot of sociability. It's a lot of talking up. I'm not trying to be deceptive or cunning. I'm not using shadow. Lucille's not a person of the shadows, weirdly enough. But that is a 3. That is a complete miss. Oh. Okay, so when you miss, your action score isn't greater than either of the challenge dice. You failed your fears coming true. I want to roll the pay the price move. When you suffer due to outcomes of an action, roll a D100. Now, I'm also going to hit myself a little bit harder. I'm going to take a point away in supply. Roll D100. Okay, I got a D100 here. On a 1 to 5, a trusted community member or person loses faith in or acts against you. You are separated from someone or something on a 6 to 10. A new danger or foe on an 11 or 12. 21 to 35 is harmful, so -1 or 2 for health. 36 to 50 causes delay, disadvantages you, -1 or 2 in momentum. 51 to 65 waste resources, -1 or 2 in supply. Oh, I might not even have to do that. That's fascinating. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a 5 on that. Action has an unintended effect on an 81 to 90. 60 to 80 is a -1 or 2 stress on spirit, because it's stressful. A 91 to 95, something of value is lost or destroyed. 96 or 100, a person, community you care about is exposed or endangered. So let's roll that die. I'm going to roll my D100 here. 42. Okay, so delay or disadvantage. I'm going to take a -1 to momentum because there is a rich person who gets in the way of me getting information. This person is a longtime investor in the sweet and sultry and does not like the fact that I am coming in sneaking around. Their name is Lord Grayson Travis. And Lord Grayson Travis likes discretion above all else. And the fact that a cop, Lucille tries to correct, Warden, cop comes in and is disrupting my day of business, get the hell out of my office, and gets kicked out. And that is very nice. So we have a new person of interest. This is Grayson Travis. Grayson, Graysen, a lord who owns the brothel above Madame Gwendolyn. So, what that means is there's someone who is very obviously interfering, and I am getting kicked out. I have disrupted their business and caused a scene, despite actually causing a scene, but him raising his voice, Lord Travis raising his voice, brings attention to Lucille and disrupts everything. So now the question is, can Lucille steal the guest list? Can Lucille find where they keep all their information? And that's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be a nice little complication that now we have to find out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll the challenge dice for this. And it's going to be a shadow roll, which is my worst skill, because I like rolling bad. And essentially, it's either I'm able to achieve this, or I get caught, and then I have to fight my way out. So we're going to see what happens. I rolled a 10 and a 7, so chances are low. The best I can roll is a 7, and if I spend a momentum, that's an 8. So I can only... That's actually par for the course of what I wanted, so I have to get a 6. Oh, this is going to go poorly. That's a 2. I'm not wasting the momentum on that. Let me just roll this die again, just to see what happens. Stressful. Or waste resources. Yeah, no, I definitely waste resources on this. This has gone so poorly for Lucille. Lucille tries to sneak in afterward, steps out, finds a window, shatters the window, which goes right into a dressing room for some of the actors. There's a loud screaming, and hired muscle and bouncers come in and demand Lucille to leave. Now Lucille has to fight his way out. I'm going to be kind to myself here, and I'm going to say Lucille changed clothes and wore a mask to cover themselves. Because this is turning into a bad time overall. You know what I mean? So we're going to... Okay, there we go. A 4 and a 6 on that. And we're using iron because we're fighting our way out. The knives have come out. Lucille is very much, like, in the kind of sense of the word, Batmaning their way out of a situation right now. And that's a 5 plus 4, so that's a 9 total. Great success. Lucille, remembering, oh yeah, shit, I've been a fighter, just beats the shit out of all these muscle and breaks in through a door, causes a whole bunch of noise. The Sweet and Sultry is in a riot, grabs a whole bunch of books with the guest's name on them. I guess it's like behind a safe, so one of the guards had to have a key because they were supposed to also watch the ticket booth and check the guest list to make sure no one's stepping out. Opens the safe with the key, grabs the books, breaks out a window, and rolls down the hill, and is on the run currently. Lucille, breaking every bit of policy and correction, just going out of their way to find to follow a lead. And now the next part comes to decoding these guest lists and trying to find any similarities. And that's going to lead me into my next action roll. I think once I got this part going, this is a little bit easier in the moment. So we're going to roll again, and this is going to be a wits roll to find and notice anything in the guest list. I rolled a 10 and a 4. I did reward myself momentum because I wanted to treat myself. And I might still fail this, so I can maybe get a weak hit. Maybe make some kind of a weak connection going on here. Whoops, that rolled off the table twice, 3 times. I shit you not, I rolled that 3 times because it kept rolling off the table. I got a 6, so I'm at a 9. But I can't beat a 10. Oh, wait, can I spend multiple momentum? Allows you a chance to improve your result on an action roll. Fictionally, momentum indicates whether things are going your character's way or turning against you. After making, you can exchange your action score with your current momentum to improve your odds of success. Okay, so if I had done that for the shadow, it still wouldn't have worked out, but you know. Interesting. Okay, momentum's nice. I kind of wish it was like a bank you could spend. I would rather have spent the bank. Okay, so what I should be doing is making sure part of my reward. We scored. What I should be doing is adding more momentum. Or if things are turning against them. Okay, that's good to know for the future. I will. So basically, what I'm reading here is like if I do a strong hit, I should also add momentum because I'm making waves in the case. I have not been doing that, so I need to do that for the future. But right now, I got a weak hit. So a weak hit, once again, is I succeed, but with a lesser effect or fear manifests. And I think the point of getting these guest books is tracking down. And yes, there is Elijah's name as part of the workers for a night. There is another person's name as a guest for that night. There is some loose connection between multiple people who have shown up. Elijah worked with some of the people who have met on the same night who have also died, but also Elijah has worked with so many other people. Elijah was a kind of contract worker just coming in and out as needed. Not contract worker, but like a temp worker would come in and cover the shifts as needed whenever they needed extra sex workers on hand. And then there is one name that consistently appears is Lord Travis, but not on the same nights that Elijah has worked. And maybe I think we're getting a weaker effect here. I think part of the weaker effect is we're not getting all the information we need because a lot of these people have died. Some of them were sex workers, some of them were nobles, some of them were vendors who happen to have a good day. There is... Let's put another person that worked with them before. When the deaths first started happening, Elijah worked with a person who died who was actually in a family house. This is the Lord's heir, whose name is going to be... Give me a moment. Let's give me another name. Nope, don't like those. We're going to go with the Lord's heir, Alden Riley. Riley was around when the deaths first started happening, and also was the last official person to see Elijah, but also Lord Riley has been seeing these people fairly often. So we're going to go meet Lord Riley, who is unfriendly towards Lucille. And let's go ahead and let's set a goal. They weren't kind of like that. They want to obtain something. Yeah, they want to obtain something. We go outside of the Ash District to one of the larger manors, and it takes us quite a lot of time to get information from Lord Alden Riley. Alden is very quiet. As the Lord's heir, doesn't really need to see the reason to speak with the local law enforcement. Doesn't see the reason to help out in any way. By the way, this has all happened in the course of 5 hours. They're trying to find the killer very quickly. And Lord Alden finally goes to see Lucille after leaving him to sit in the waiting room for hours on end. No water, no drinks provided, nothing. Just still in a very dirty coat. Smelling of the streets and sewers, just standing the entire time, told not to sit, per the butler. And Alden comes in and says, "Now, how can I help you?" Warden Deleuc. Warden Deleuc. Excellent, Warden Deleuc. Now, is there something I can aid you with? Do the wardens need more funding or anything? And Lucille relays some of the information about Elijah's death, and is observing Lord Alden the entire time. Alden doesn't really give away much. Tries to push it off like, "Oh, I've never seen anyone of that sort before. Not really anything I care about." And I think what's going to end up happening here is it's going to be a little bit of trying to deceive, find a way to, and trying to, not a little bit of deception, but trying to say, this person died and you were, along with many others beforehand, do you have any connection to them? I think the success is we're going to get a lead here, and the unfortunate connection is going to get knocked out. So what we're going to do is roll the dice. I got a 4 and 6. I think this is a heart roll. I think this is trying to socialize, get empathy. I think Lucille's trying to go for the empathy angle here of people have died at this time. Anything you can tell me will help out. And I think Lord Alden is very reluctant at first, and as we roll, we got a 5, so we get a weak hit. Doesn't really say too much. But what comes to pass is, I think Alden just says, "Well, Elijah came at the recommendation of the owner at the time. Some noble trying to win the good graces of my father and my mother, and try to get more involved in the city, reach out and expand a bit more. And never really thought anything of it." And as this happens, there is a knock on the door as constables arrive, asking the Lord Alden for permission to arrest Lucille Deleuc. I think that's a complication on the weak hit. And now Lucille is currently on the run. Lucille breaks out and sprints out the door, out the window, and is currently on the run from the constables while trying to solve the case and clear his own name as well. Does not get a reason for why the arrest, but knows to run when it's time to run. Because there's anything that we've known about Lucille, outside of their strong way of fighting, they are weak of heart, and they do not have a lot of willpower. So when something tells you to run, you run. Okay. Lucille is running through the streets, scrambling, trying to avoid the wardens. The reason for this is uncertain, but there's one person he can trust to talk to, and that is Sergeant Carly at the moment. And he sprints down, tries to find the constabulary, and looks for Sergeant Carly the entire time. And the question here is he able to get there? And I think this is an edge roll for the quickness and agility of being able to pull this off. Even with the cops chasing after him, I think he's just trying to run away fast enough to get out of their line of sight. All they know is he went to the Lord's Manor, and that's it. Alright, let's roll. 8 and 5, so with an edge roll, that's a 3. We're going to see if we can beat that. Whoops. Okay. Weak hit. So, what we have here is a fear manifesting, I think. I think we're able to find Sergeant Carly. Carly is also being detained and questioned in this moment, and there is not a lot that Lucille can do. It is unsure. It is putting the entire case on hold. That's the other issue as well. The Lucille has to sneak through make his way through the building, and is able to get to the interrogation room where Carly is being questioned about Lucille's methods and why a warden would go so far out of their way to disrupt society and disrespect a beloved lord who has done so much to entertain and appease the masses, especially over at the Sweet and Sultry. I think that's a little bit of the hit that we get. We do not get to talk to Carly immediately, and Carly is just silent the entire time, not saying anything, not giving anything up, because these are the same tricks. These are the same position he's been putting other people in, so he knows to shut the fuck up. I think that's the only other thing. I think what becomes curious about this, and what I'm going to add as a mark on the case tracker here, is why does Lord Travis give so much of a shit about what's going on here? I think that adds to the difficulty a little bit. And so Lucille needs to find a reason why Travis is so enamored with this, and is going to try to find where is able to lock down and locate where Lord Travis lives, which is further out and a bit more isolated from anywhere else. And I think what we have here, I'm going to actually roll to see how difficult this part of the area is going to be. If we roll a 6, it will be very easy, but anything else, it will be extremely difficult, and he's going to have to sneak his way to this lord's home. It's a 2, so it's not going to be easy at all. It has to be a shadow roll. I'm going to give myself that little barrier. So we come to Lord Travis's estate. It is large and wide. Dogs are patrolling the area. The moon is shining down on it and lighting up the entire area. There are guards patrolling the paths, walking to and fro, and it is very tightly controlled. Higher security than it ever should be. There are wagon marks coming in and out of the gates, and there's a couple smaller gates for pedestrian foot traffic service entrances that are double guarded. And so Lucille has to come up with the choice of trying to sneak in or fighting their way through. If they fight their way through, there's not going to be a lot of information. If they sneak their way through, there might be a little bit more to find. So that is where we're going to roll our challenge dice. I'm going to lean into the shadow here. It is one of the bigger weaknesses of Lucille, but we're going to see what he can do. Do it. I got matching numbers for the first time in this game. So, when the challenge dice roll matching numbers, the remarkable occurs. The outcome of a match should be based on the result of your action. If you're unsure what happens, roll the Ask the Table Oracle table. If I get a strong hit, the match represents a twist in the narrative, something interesting or a new opportunity. Or if I get a miss, which I need to roll a 5 or higher, I need to roll a 5 on the die to get a 6. In order to do that, I can also use momentum in this. Actually, I'm going to take momentum for the shadow. I have 2 momentum in this moment, and I want to succeed. So I'm going to trade that out. I'm going to roll +2 on this. So, rolling matching tens is the baddest thing you get. Oh my god. I forgot about that. That's a possibility here. So I'm going to roll with my momentum. There's a lot happening in this case in the moment, and Lucille's on some kind of track right now, is able to figure something out about the Ebon Woods killer. And with that, I got a 4, brings me up to a 6. So, here's the interesting thing that happens. Occult detectives are able to see, similar to how like Blades in the Dark work, are able to see the ghosts and whispers and old passages. Because we barely passed this, the entire estate is in flames in this ghost vision that Lucille's seeing. But there are open walls and paths. There are people screaming in the distance. There are people asking and begging for help. And that's what pulls Lucille in. Lucille's able to get past the guards, past everyone else, but is absolutely surrounded in flames and ghost fire. I'm going to go ahead and mark a case tracker for this, because that is still a strong hit. I am not going to give myself a +1 on momentum, because this was a roll using momentum. What Lucille sees is a circle. And in the circle is a variety of bodies, all of them holding ebon wood effigies. All of them holding charred wood carvings of an ebony tree, and a tree rising up in the center of that circle. And there is a younger person there who is yelling and screaming, saying a whole bunch of chants, and a vision flashes, and the face reveals itself, smelling of salt, of honey and hearth fire. We see a hint of a flash of Lord Travis's face. And Lucille wakes up, comes out of this vision, aware, and sees is inside the manor itself, and tries to retrace the steps, retrace the path, and tries to find a hidden lever that leads to where the ceremony was taking place. And so we're going to roll the dice once more. Matching 7s. Okay. This is a wits roll, so we're rolling with a +3 here. I got a 9. I'm giving myself momentum on that. And this is more to represent that Lucille is picking up the pace, picking up the trail a bit more. It's getting more and more fiery, more and more passionate. Everything is getting more and more intense here. So, current momentum, improve your odds. Oh, I was supposed to reset my momentum to 0 after that last roll, so it's actually going to be out of 1 now. Okay, cool. So, we're able to find this secret passageway. There is a kitchen. There's a kitchen with some servants who are actually off to bed right now. It is the dead of night. Some pans still getting cleaned and dried out, hung to dry, barely avoiding them. And there's that whisper of, help me, again. Actually, no, it's no longer help me, it's help us. Avenge us. Save us. And The whispers lead towards a stack of barrels, but it's not really a stack of barrels. And pulling at a... they're like taps. Essentially, they're all tapped. They're different beers, places to drink. Pulling at one of the taps opens a secret passage discreetly. And Lucille is able to walk down into the passage. Finds themselves in a dark and ominous area. And the smell of smoke. The smell of charred wood rising out from it. And in it, we find a large room with symbols etched on the ground. People locked away. And some basically bodies and skeletons left on the ground. Charred remains of them, if any. And this is a ceremony site for Lord Travis. And now, here's the part I need to figure out. How do I connect this? What is the cause of all this? I think this is related to the same fire Lucille came out of, ran away from. In fact, let me roll an oracle dice real quick. I want to see if this is something that Lucille ran from. I think it's 50-50. So we're going to roll for 4 or greater. And that's a 5. This might be the very same fire that Lucille ran from. I think he is struck by these sudden memories collapsing into him, reminding him like a waterfall rush slamming into him. And now there is a limited amount of time. I'm going to put formidable on the progress track clock, but I think what Lucille is going to try and do is orchestrate a ceremony to walk through and figure out what is going on in Lord Travis's estate and why. And I'm going to mark this as formidable for sure, because this is going to be extremely difficult to do. And I think the first way of going about it is a heart roll. I think this is going to be setting up a ceremony to open up, follow the bones, follow the blood that's here, trace everything back, and try to remember what would have caused that great fire that burnt out the Ash District that Lucille ran out from. Oh, that was from 100 years ago? Hey, guess what? Lucille's immortal. A joke, but that might actually be the case here. 6 and a 9. Okay. Well, that'll be an interesting roll. This is going to be a heart roll, so I'm rolling with a +2. I can at least get a weak hit. That is a 7. 5 on the dice of 7. So, we have the ceremony in place right now. Lucille is remembering past histories and summoning ghosts, talking to folks, and gets nothing but screams in the immediate summoning of folks. And now the question is, can they calm them down? Can they try to silence them? If these ghosts are too active, too overwhelming, that could be an issue of itself. As there are, I think, 3 ghosts that appear. One with chains as a ex-prisoner sort of person, wearing nothing but rags. Hair bald. Eyes gaunt and shallow. And deepened, as if left out to starve. Another person who is in very nice refinery, has a gentle smile. Well, what would be a gentle smile if it wasn't for the fact that they are screaming in the moment. And a figure that is very familiar to Lucille. So, we're going to roll this and see what happens. Oh, you know what? We're going to add a little extra bonus here. In the center of the circle, a sprout appears as well, as if it came from a long time ago. 4 and a 3. I think this is still a heart roll. I think it's still going to be a lot of courage and trying to calm these people down, try to learn who they are, what happened here. And that is a 4. So that's still a weak hit. I think the yelling gets louder and louder. Things get louder and louder and louder. And the screams start kind of amping up. And one thing is for certain, though, the voices that are familiar, the prisoner, the person in refinement, and the person familiar say, shout out, your life is in danger. You've lived longer than you remember. Your life is in danger. Do not let them find you. Your life is in danger. Get away. Get away. Get away. And as this gets louder, there are more and more flashes, and memories come swirling back into Lucille. Lucille starts remembering their younger days, going out to see someone, and going with two familiar figures to him, but that we haven't seen. Gentle smiles on their face, long coats, both masculine and figure, hefty beards, one with hair tied back in a ponytail, the other one short cropped hair, very very well taken care of. And we have another moment to arise as these memories come flooding in, going to a large gated community, very large, and huge in presence. And we have another dice roll as Lucille's trying to make notice and recognize things. This is going to be a wits roll through observation. That's a 5 and an 8. Good fucking luck. I need a 6 or higher. And I got a 6, so that's a 9 total. That's a strong hit. I'm going to add my momentum there. So, I think, I will say, just because of the drain this is taking, though, from that weak hit earlier, I am going to go ahead and take 1 away from Spirit. And this is a very familiar estate. It is Lord Travis's estate. Large, imposing. This is not the first time that we've been here. Lucille came here at a very younger age. In fact, one might say Lucille came in maybe 100 years ago. There is this large ceremony being announced, and a great promise granted to everyone over a fine dinner buffet. Lucille is very happy to have come, gets to spend time with both of his parents, whose names I do not have on me. Let's come up with some names for the father figures here. We have, regenerate. We have Flynn and Yale Deleuc. So Flynn and Yale Deleuc come and also talk a little bit more about the spiritual side. Say, the Ebon Woods have a secret power in them. They have this long-lasting life as long as they burn, as long as people remember them. And can be filled and spelt out in a lot of history. The Ebon Wood Remembers is a long-stated folklore from around the area before the city was built. And the Ebon Wood grants promises as well. And it's at this point that people start collapsing and passing out as they're saying this. And Lord Travis, who has not touched his food and drink much at all, if any, stands and says, "Yes, I remember this well, and I would care to hear more about it soon." And all these people are dragged down. Lucille, fairly not lucid at all, but now stepping outside of himself and watching this in a ghost field's perspective, sees himself being brought to the kitchen, brought into the basement, and brought down below. And Lucille sees his fathers be brought with them. He sees the prisoner waiting down there. He sees a lady of fine refinement. He sees other folks, all in various ways of code. Some of them look like they were sex workers. Some of them looked like they are dancers, bartenders, servers, tavern owners, people who work for City Hall, a variety of folks. And there is Lord Travis standing in the center with a ebonwood sapling growing out of the circle. People were placed in various positions, and there is a moment where they wake up. Not wake up, I'm sorry. Where people are laid out and mumbling starts happening. And this is the part where we find out that Lord Travis, the thing that he actually wanted all along, is a secret to eternal life, and is trying to essentially kind of, if you're looking at Blades in the Dark, wants to become Lord Scarlock, wants to become immortal, or like the immortal emperor, and is trying to harness power. And has everything complete, and we see this elaborate ritual take place, and something goes wrong, and Lucille wakes up in that time while Lord Travis is busy completing the ritual. And we see Lucille wake up in a panic. And I think what we find is Lucille sprints towards the tree as the ceremony is about to be completed, grabs the tree, tears out, and as the tree swings out and tries to knock down Travis. Travis has just completed the ritual and swings his arm back, sends Lucille flying right into the tree, and it splinters and shatters. And ebonwood trees, when you splinter and shatter them in such a way, unless you are cutting them down a very specific way, are immediately flammable. And this is where one of the causes of the fire happens. And the people are immediately screaming and have awoken. We see Lord Travis shouts, "No, no, this can't be happening, no." And Lucille looks at his parents, and they both yell at him to run. And Lucille, body burning, everyone else burning, people start scattering and running to the winds. The estate catches fire as well. This is not the first time it's caught fire. It's also built up ebonwood in that present day moment. But the ebonwood, the Lord Travis Manor burns to the ground, starts burning, and the fire catches. And all those people who were caught in that moment are burning and burning, and they have run out, and the houses around them have caught fire, and the ash district takes effect. And Lucille wakes up screaming, and the guards come in, and now he has to fight his way out. So we're going to go ahead and do another iron roll. I want to see... this could be an edge roll to get out of here. I think edge roll will happen later. There's only a few guards, but it's enough to keep Lucille busy. So I'm going to roll that dice. We got a 10 and a 1. Lovely. Whoops. Okay, well, no matter what, I beat that. So that is a 6 on the iron roll. It's a weak hit, but more guards are coming. Some of the guards are able to hold them down, and Lucille knows he has no choice but to escape in this moment. Now, the question is, how can he prove all of this as well? So I think the way Lucille goes about trying to reveal the case, and I think it's going to require a little bit of setup. First of all, setup is escaping. So now we're doing an edge roll. We're on the edge. We're trying to get it out of the entire tower. The revelation that comes from the entire ceremony is Lucille is not the only one to survive and get the power of immortality in that. And I think the reason why that immortality is still able to go is because one of the consequences of that botched ceremony is not only is that immortality split between two people, but there must be more sacrifices to keep it going. That's why everyone has an ebonwood effigy with them. It's why so many people have been killed, and a lot of them are very similar deaths to 100 years ago. And we also come to find out that Lucille is also having their memories coming back to them, and they're coming to terms with the fact that they're way beyond their time in that moment. So first we have to escape this area. And so to do that, I'm going to do an edge roll. So I'm rolling my 2d10 for the challenge dice first. I rolled a 7 and a 2. Okay. So, it's possible. I can do this easily. I can at least get a weak hit, so let's see what happens. Okay. That's a 7. So it's a weak hit still. So, in order to escape, Lucille still has to fight through many, many guards. So I'm going to go ahead and knock down... Oops. Control Z. Knock down my health to 2. Lucille is battered, bruised, beaten. This is all happening in the span of 6 hours right now. And he is trying his best to escape. I think he doesn't get all the way out. He actually takes a turn and finds the study of Lord Travis. Lord Travis also arriving. Constables coming out into the yard, yelling for Lucille to submit to an arrest. All these different kind of things. But that gives Lucille an idea about what kind of books would be hidden around here. So, that goes into my next roll. I want to do a wits roll to see if we can find the books that we need that show the ceremony and how to disrupt it as well. Or how to reverse the effects. And I got double 1s. Amazing. Okay. Let's do this. That's a perfect 6 as well, so that's a 9. That's the most I can roll with my stats right now. Momentum is building as Lucille starts digging through all the books, goes to the desk, finds a false bottom, which has another switch, which leads to one of the hidden rooms, and there is a whole bunch of knowledge and folklore about the Ebon Woods and what kind of powers they held, about the different witches that maintained and protected them, the hermits, testimonies, and Lucille locks himself in immediately. Keeps the door locked and closed the entire time, and starts digging through and finds the answer they are looking for. In order to disrupt the ritual, it's gotta be something with Ghostlight. I want to do something with the fucking moon, because I fucking love doing stuff with moons. I think there is a series of cloth scraps and jewelry, and in this moment, Lucille has only one option left. You have to... Oh, actually, I have close escape. When you feel you have enough evidence you need, envision your big reveal. Roll your challenge dice compared to your progress score. Okay. So, I actually... 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So, there's one hint that needs to be revealed here. There's one missing piece. But Lucille is running out of time. The question is, can he get Lord Travis to reveal what that is? And I think in this moment, it is a shadow roll to see what happens. But I'm going to spend that momentum. The guards have come in. Everyone is shouting. They are scrambling to dig through. And Lord Travis shuts everyone out of the study, saying... but the constable pushes their way in. Actually, oracle roll. Are the constables able to force Lord Travis to let them into the study? Yes. Yes, they are. Because I rolled a 6 on a small chance, so I know I didn't say that, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So, on that, the constables have come in. Everyone is checking through. It's all hands. Everyone is in. Even the wardens have arrived. And in the moment as Lord Travis starts shouting that there's no possible way he's in here, nothing, like, you see the room, how is there a possible place to hide? And that is where Lucille arrives with a series of books coming out of the secret room, and tries to negotiate and persuade the other constables. You need to follow me downstairs into the basement. There's a hallway through the kitchen that leads to a place. And the problem here is he has to talk over Lord Travis, who has the constables at his beck and call at the moment. are following under his will because this is his home. And right now, Lucille has a lot of faults against him than positives. So let's see what roll this is. That's a 7 on one. That's a 9 on the other. Oh, shit. Alright, well, this is definitely going to be a heart roll. Actually, no, I'm going to spend my momentum on this. So we're going to go ahead and knock that down to 0. And we're going to roll with a +3, so I can at least match 1. Okay, so I got an 8. This is just enough for Lucille to be held back. Has to be put in shackles and chains before they agree to go downstairs. Lord Travis is belligerent in this moment, yelling, screaming, telling them they are not allowed down there. They are only here to get the criminal Lucille Deleuc. But Crawley is there and says, what's the harm in checking? And I think there's like a sign among the wardens where they look into that room, they see all the ghosts and spiritual energy coming from it, and they also agree, what's the harm in checking? Which will fill out my case tracker clock. We're going to put one more on there. This will fill out my case tracker clock. Now the question is, do they have enough? Lord Travis is yelling and shouting and trying to get Lucille put away. And Lucille comes out. I'm going to use the special move, close the gaze. I have enough evidence. Lucille stands up at full height and says, though I may be shackled in chains, there's nothing that can stop me from coming and bringing out the honest truth of everything you have done wrong in this city. And there is cops and constables, wardens are the wardens are there as well, and Lord Travis is trying to exercise like noble authority to basically arrest this man of it, essentially. But because Lucille's a warden, his faults fall with the wardens, and they have jurisdiction, which overrides the noble authority. And the wardens say, in their last act, we shall let Lucille Deleuc speak before stripping them of their rank. And so, Lucille, you shall speak. And Lucille starts pulling together all the evidence, says, the Ash District has been fraught with crimes and knives in every corner, secrets hidden among the walls, and has been rebuilt on a forest that we have not known much about, a forest with a lot of superstition and history behind it, a forest that remembers. And each of the victims have all been drained and stabbed in a multitude of ways and left with an ebon effigy inside of it. And if you look inside this book here, you will find evidence of a ritual that asks for this, that promises everlasting life for that who can continue this ritual. And if you remember 100 years ago in that great fire, there was a source of the flames was never revealed. But if you head downstairs into that secret walkway, you will find a ritual site there. You will find char marks and an ebonwood sapling. That is the start of it all. And what I'm going to roll is to see if I can get a strong hit on the case. Because when you feel the need to have the evidence you need, envision your big reveal. Roll your challenge dice and compare it to your progress score. Well, I rolled a 1 and an 8, so I did get that strong hit, which is kind of what I wanted anyways. And there are other options as well, too. But let's go ahead and wrap up this case. I think Lucille reveals the incidents of the past years and asks wardens to talk to the spirits down there. Those two are trapped inside that basement. My own fathers are trapped down in that basement to reveal where they are. Lucille also outs himself as someone who obtained immortality because of this. But it's because of Lord Travis's heinous ideas and motives that these killings are still happening. All of them spawn from the place he owns, the Sweet and Sultry. And that's where he marks his victims. He looks for everyone who has a similar history to all of those who came to the ceremony 100 years ago. This is where all of his mistake began. The Wardens are able to track down the spirits and are able to corroborate with this. And there was many people who died in those streets that day. There was a sex worker, much like Elijah. There was a disgraced noble. There were a couple sawbones who worked there, merchants and tradespeople, and one criminal, similar to the criminal that was found in the very first case. And as Lucille goes through this, Lord Travis, in a desperate act, tries to reenact the ceremony. And Lucille comes up with another book that says, and in order to end the ritual, all you need to do is destroy the sapling. And the sapling is stepped on inconveniently by a constable who happened to go down there with the Wardens and crushed entirely. And in that moment, Lord Travis' age catches up to him, and he ages 100 years in that moment. And Lucille, as well, in that moment, also ages 100 years. And so ends the murder mystery of the Ebonwood Effigies. Overall, this is an interesting game. I imagine this would roll. I would like to do this with like a conspiracy board in front of me in the future. I think I might do a second page if I do the other version of this, the Wings of Rot supplement that they have, which also has different mechanics as well. It'd be a lot more fun to check this out with another friend as well. I would love to come back to this in the future and be able to bounce off story ideas with people. But overall, this was a very fun game, and I think it's a very evocative story that you can do really quickly. You just have to be very aware of what you're doing as well. And I did not take a lot of notes. And this is a game that does require you to take notes in some sense. I definitely want to come back and try this game again with another friend. I definitely want to try other games like this as well. So if you know other games like Sworn by Ghostlight or Ironsworn, Starforged, games along those measures, please feel free to send an email over to insidethetable@gmail.com. Again, that was insidethetable@gmail.com. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you for coming to hang out and enjoy the story. Let me know what you thought about. Let me know what you like in the reviews. And feel free to recommend the show to a complete and total stranger. Who knows? They might be the Ebonwood's killer. They might be a rich noble trying to achieve immortality once again, like so many others. This episode was played by me, starring the cast of Lucille Deleuc, Lucille's parents, who were Flynn and Yale Deleuc. We have Lord Grayson Travis, Lord Riley, the Lord's heir. We have the Sweet and Sultry, run by Madame Gwendolyn. We have Dr. Cokes and Oscar the Street Beggar. We have Sergeant Colley. Those were all played by me, and me alone, by myself. Yeah, enjoy that. Enjoy that thought process. And with that, thank you so much. You can follow the show on Twitter and co-host at Inside the Table. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and co-host at Ice Cold Brew. And you can follow Marley on Twitter at Manar Lenahan or on co-host at Manar-Lenahan. Thank you so much once again. And feel free to leave a review for the show as well if you're on Apple or Spotify. And send in some feedback as well, too. Thank you so much. And have a great night. Goodbye! Oh god, what was the name of someone who worked? Shit, fuck. Drop my dice. Ugh. Alright, let's go. I'm just going to keep dropping dice this entire recording today, I swear.